Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you listen to this episode 254 of the Tree Talk podcast. Myself, Jack Neville, and Matt O'Callaghan of the Weekly Observer and Vale Star. It'll be a very busy episode and the last of this current era before I move abroad, and then we'll be doing it from Sydney, all going well. But for now, let's get through. We've plenty of hurling to look forward to this weekend. With a load of football over the weekend, and we've Camogie as well. So stay tuned for all that and more.
The impression again we get out with what you put into it's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
But not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well, Todd, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tomás O'Shea. He deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word go today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We've had a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Carey. Carey leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it hard. He's put it over.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.
As I said, Matt, it's the last for our current iteration of Treaty Talk, but we won't dwell on that. I spoke last week about the upcoming immigration, but I'll be on a plane this Saturday, and please God, I've heard that there is live television on those long haul flights, because at 1:30 in the Gaelic grounds this Saturday, Doon playing Na Piarsaigh in the Limerick Senior Hurling Championship semi-final, and there's no place better to start than the hurling. We'll get straight into it, Matt, because it's a mouth-watering tie. I suppose Na Piarsaigh topped the group, are the champions last year. They've won 7 titles, I think, in 11 years. Doon have been blighted with injury that we spoke about so much, but now that we're into the last 4, Matt, just what is your initial read on that game?
Yeah, I suppose, Jack, in many ways, given the background to the game, which you've graphically outlined there and very clearly outlined, it's in many ways a free shot for Doon, because like they have suffered so many setbacks, and they're all interrelated. The fact that you lose your 6 backs that you had last year to injury, and you go out and you win the league, which gives hope, and pick up some county silverware, and then go out a couple of weeks after and get a right thumping by Kilmallock. And but there is tremendous resilience in Doon. The fact that a week after they came back and beat Patrickswell, who had beaten Na Piarsaigh in the first round, and then lo and behold, in round 3. They got completely overwhelmed by Na Piarsaigh, and 5 days later bounced back up again and beat Kildare, Ballysteen, and then beat Ahan to qualify. So, despite all their travails, they're in the semi-final, and as I say, in many ways, given the circumstances, it's a free shot. Now, you'd have to say by any benchmark, Jack, that Na Piarsaigh had the complete package. All right, they lost to Patrickswell in the first round, but really after that, I don't think there was never a doubt, but that they were going to qualify for the knockout stages, and I suppose, or indeed for the semi-final. Maybe there was a slight doubt going into the last game against Kilmallock. Well, had they lost that, they may have lost the semi-final spot. But as events transpired, they wouldn't. But they were vulnerable to losing the semi-final spot, but not the quarter-final spot. But one way or the other, I don't think they would have been very worried. Like they seem to be the team that have all the aces, Jack, and probably I suppose it's fair to say that their ultimate ambitions for the season. Shane O'Neill is back on board now. That their ultimate ambitions for the season may lie outside of Limerick, and that winning the Limerick Championship would be a means to an end. But that's not to say that they will take Doon lightly for 1 minute, because as I said, the resilience that Doon have shown this year has been simply absolutely incredible. And but you know, you would have to say going into the game, like that, the game is Na Piarsaigh to lose. You know, they are where they are in the current series without 𝘕𝘰𝘬𝘯𝘴 𝘔𝘦𝘯𝘴. You must remember that. And plus the fact that you must factor in the huge influence that 𝘕𝘰𝘬𝘯𝘴 𝘔𝘦𝘯𝘴 is not only to Na Piarsaigh, but indeed to Limerick, or to any team that he plays on. So it looks to me as if it's going to be Na Piarsaigh, but you know, I can expect a real kick from Doon now. They were very, very average in the semi-final against Monagea St. Paul's. Now it was a very, very poor first half with desperate low intensity, Jack. Far away from the intensity needed to win out a championship. And you know, the scoreline, whilst you know it was impressive, 13 points apiece at half time, but that was the result of open play, lack of intensity. All right, good shooting, but we saw a different Doon in the second half. They upped the intensity, and it was more like the type of a team that would, you know, and the type of intensity and performance that would be required to progress in the championship, and they got over the line on that one. So, like, you must remember that people are sort of defining Doon's season by the games against Kilmallock and Na Piarsaigh, and I wouldn't do that at all, because I've seen them in their last 4 games actually. They're going into the game with a bit of momentum, Jack. They've had 3 wins in a row in the senior championship, and
they have that
in itself is momentum.
Yeah, they have the momentum, but you mentioned it there, that heavy loss to Na Piarsaigh will be on their mind. And when you're down so many defenders, I think the last team you want to meet in Limerick Club Hurling, and maybe in Club Hurling in general, is Na Piarsaigh, with the riches they have in the forward line, with, you know, Peter Casey, David Dempsey, Conor Boylan, Will Hayne, Ronan is playing up there this year. And as you said, without Will O'Donoghue, there's whispers that William could be back. But in terms of firepower, you know, it's hard to match Na Piarsaigh. And Doon may have backed themselves with their first line 6, but without all those players, it's just hard to see how they'll stop Na Piarsaigh racking up a score and then conversely be able to match that at the other end.
It is that is the issue, because like they have rejigged the defence, and they have reconstructed the defence really. Like Cormac Ryan, as I said, has gone back, and Eddie Stokes has gone back into centre back very satisfactorily now. Two very satisfactory games there at centre half back. But Jack, you're right. The real test is going to come on Saturday. When they face the like of the Conor Boylans, the Peter Caseys, the Adrian Breens of this world, you know, the David Dempsey's, it's then that the real test will be.
Yeah, and I suppose for Doon, they have their own players. They're in the field. I think Adam English has been one of the best players in the championship overall. You know, Tara Stapleton still defies expectations up there at full forward. Jack Ryan, Barry Murphy, Pat Ryan. They have, you know, very good forwards. Tara Donovan leading from midfield, but it just does seem to be Na Piarsaigh to lose, as you mentioned there. So we'll get predictions at the end, man.
You just mentioned that you mentioned Darragh Donovan there now, and I've seen him in a couple of places for Doon this year, and it is a testimony to the character of Darragh Donovan that, you know, his club were never more in the trenches and never more in need of a lift. And by God, Jack, has he stepped up to the plate, both at centre back and at centre field, and you know, he's the real pulse of that team out there. Himself and Adam English are a very, very formidable midfield partnership, and of course, Doon will be looking to him on Saturday to maybe provide a platform for the scores. Pat Ryan is in good form. Barry Murphy. The work rate of Dara Stapleton, is something that's a huge boost to Adam, huge for any team. And like you have young players that, like Donald Coughlin in his first year has impressed me no end anytime I've seen him. Kevin Maher is growing as a senior hurler. So, there will be plenty. Doon will not be short of firepower, Jack, either. But I think you nailed it there when you said, how will the restructured Doon defence cope with the firepower of Na Piarsaigh, and probably therein lies how the game will transpire and what the result will turn out to be.
Yeah, I think Doon need to be at their very, very best, and I hope Na Piarsaigh aren't at that level. I think if Na Piarsaigh get to their peak, they'll come through and get to another final. That's Saturday afternoon at 1:30. That game is live on RT. Then the following afternoon at 3:00, we have the meeting of Kilmallock and Patrickswell. And I suppose we all know this stage, that Final Four, we become so accustomed to. So these teams have met in county finals, in county semi-finals. It's been relatively, even enough. Kilmallock obviously got the big win in the final 2 years ago, got the win in the group stage this year. But that group stage game, Matt, was by far and away the best game we've seen this year in either code across any level. And if we get anything like that on Sunday, the neutrals, for one, will be very happy.
They will, Jack, and we were lucky to be there that evening in Cappamore. It really, Jack, is a candidate for a classic category. A fantastic game, high intensity from the first whistle to the last whistle, embellished by some excellent scores, and just a point or two in it at the finish, and maybe a point or two in it for most of the game. Now Patrickswell threatened to put a bit of daylight at one stage. Kilmallock bounced back, and it was toing and fro. Huge excitement. And I think, as you rightly said, neutral patrons to the Gaelic grounds on Sunday. If there is a repeat, God, they will go home extremely, extremely happy. But in terms of the game itself, Jack, it's very, very hard to call, because it's one of those championship confrontations that sort of takes on a life of its own. There's huge, intense rivalry between the clubs. They have met so often, Jack, in over the years, and they have met so often. Invariably, when they meet, Jack, it's in hugely important games. Now, I thought Kilmallock, really flew out of the traps early in the championship, but their form may have tapered a small bit as the competition went on. Now they had to find their best form in round 4 to beat Patrickswell. Now I'm totally discounting the last round game between Kilmallock and Na Piarsaigh as being a barometer for anything in terms of form, because the overall situation was that both sides were safely through, and it was the quintessential dead rubber. But I think this game it's going to be extremely close, Jack. Extremely close. Now, Kilmallock to me will start as favourites, but if you look back to 2 years ago, and if you look back to the group game this year, you'd have to say that Patrickswell own one. But whether they have enough ammunition to do it is something that I would question, because I think Kilmallock, on the day when they fire, are quite a formidable outfit. And maybe that, in view of what happened last year, like, they are on a mission. Make no mistake about it. They lost the final last year, a final in which they were overpowered by Na Piarsaigh. Doesn't sit well in Kilmallock, and they are on an atonement mission. And it just happens that Patrickswell are in their way now on Sunday. So if Kilmallock have it, Jack, I think we're going to see it on Sunday. I think they have. like if you look through the personnel in the team, they're very, very strong in all areas. And Graham Mulcahy is back, David Wolfe is back on the panel, Paddy O'Brien is back, Robbie Hanley is back. They're going at full strength into this game now. Patrickswell, when you think of Patrickswell, there's only one thing that you immediately think of, and that's Dermot Burns, Cian Lynch, and Aaron Gillane. But there is more to Patrickswell than those three.
There is.
There are a lot of players out there that have played a lot of hurling, and just checking a few like Mark Carmody, the O'Briens, Jack Kelleher, like they've been around a long, long time. And Jason Gillane in goal is a good young goalkeeper. And listening to some of the narrative during the week so far that Patrickswell will not beat Kilmallock and don't have a really good chance. I think otherwise, Jack. I think Patrickswell have a real good chance of causing an upset, but I don't think they will. But I think they will make Kilmallock sweat before the Balbeck boys will get into the county final.
Yeah, they've caused a few shocks in the semi-finals in the last 2 years. Like, you think of the finals they got to in 19. Now, they were probably favoured 19, but 2021 against Na Piarsaigh, they really came out of the blue in that one. They've beat Doon a couple of times in the penultimate round where you didn't expect them to come through. And I think when we spoke about Na Piarsaigh, we spoke about the firepower. These are two more teams that are absolutely glistening in unreal talent in the forward units. Like, looking at Patrickswell, you obviously have a hurler of the year in Aaron Gillane. You have another, you have another one in Cian Lynch. But outside that, Sporting Cast has been very good. You've mentioned Jack Keller and like Thomas O'Brien, Kevin O'Brien, but the two Kirby brothers, Jordan Higgins, has been phenomenally good this year.
Absolutely phenomenal. I should have mentioned him, actually. He has been absolutely phenomenal, Jack. But if we focus on the three big boys, I thought in the semi-final against Ballybrown that Dermot Burns was immense throughout. And but when Ballybrown threatened and drew level with 5 or 6 minutes to go, then we saw the value of Cian Lynch and the value of Aaron Gillane.
Oh yeah, and like the three of the best players.
And that's the hallmark. It's the hallmark of great players. In the moment of need, they stand up, and in many ways, a semi-final, Jack, from the throw-in is a moment of need. And like if those three boys hit top form, they're going to make it very, very difficult for Kilmallock.
They will, and while Patrickswell have a good forward line outside of Aaron and Cian, they've really good players to highlight that. And on the other side, then Kilmallock are equally strong, if not stronger, with Micheál Hoolan, Oisin O'Reilly, Shane O'Brien, Graham Mulcahy, Conor Hanley Clark, Robbie Egan, these boys as well. And Darren Burns is so crucial to everything Patrickswell do. But if Oisin O'Reilly starts at centre forward, where he has been for the last 2 or 3 years, and starts to roam, he'll pick up scores at ease. If he goes wandering, will it upset the Patrickswell defence? So while both teams have good, solid defensive structures in place, I think this one again is going to come down to the forwards.
It is. It's going to come down. It's going to come down to the forwards, and that's why I'm leaning towards Kilmallock. And plus, of course, like the form of Shane O'Brien is just simply incredible. And the day he picked for an absolute top class performance was against Patrickswell. When the chips were really down, when Kilmallock wanted to seal that semi-final place and get the job done, he really stood head and shoulders. Absolutely a man of the match performance. So, you add him to the like of Graham Mulcahy, Micheál Hoolan, Oisin O'Reilly, and, you mentioned him there a while ago. To me, one of the unsung heroes of Kilmallock is Robbie Egan. A powerful man with good hands and good to distribute the ball and that sort of a thing. And you know, we spoke about what Dara Stapleton does for Doon. You know, Robbie Egan is in a similar category for Kilmallock. In my view, he's an absolutely vital cog, and David Wolfe is back around the panel now again. So, you know, and they'll probably alternate Graham Mulcahy if he starts corner forward. He'll be probably out centre forward and in and out and all that sort of a thing. And you'll have Oisin O'Reilly moving all over the place, which is typical of him. And, you know, Patrickswell will just hope that he doesn't get onto a ball at full speed, because we know what the result of those situations are. But, you know, you've Robbie Handy back, you've Gavin O'Mahony. Now Gavin has played in the backs and he's played in the forwards, and I'm just wondering where he's going to play this coming Sunday. Now he played at full forward in recent games, and like to have a man of that type of experience around the square is absolutely phenomenal. So that will give you an idea of the strength of the Kilmallock attack. But then on the other side, like you have Aaron Gillan, and you have the O'Briens, and you have John Kirby, you have Jordan Higgins, like who to me has been one of the revelations of the championship so far. All supplemented, Jack, an attack that's supplemented all the time by Cian Lynch, and you know, being fed by Cian Lynch and Dermot Byrne. So this has the makings of an intriguing game, and I think it's a game that people should be loath to take for granted that Kilmallock are going to get through. I believe that they'll get through, but I believe it'll be after one hell of a titanic struggle.
Yeah, it's definitely one that I'll be looking forward to watching wherever I'll be in the world at that stage. I think it's fair to say the defenders will probably have a couple of sleepless nights for Na Piarsaigh, Doon, Kilmallock and Patrickswell over the next 4 days, because the firepower we'll see in the Gaelic grounds this Saturday and Sunday is something to behold. That second game is live on Limerick SHC, Patrickswell and Kilmallock. 2 more games live on Limerick SHC are the Premier Intermediate semi-finals, Matt, and we'll briefly go through them because they are a pair of intriguing clashes. On Saturday at 2 o'clock in Bruff, you have Blackrock versus Effin, and then the following day at 4 in Kilmallock, you have the meeting of Bruff and Drumlet Lacka. So briefly on those 2 games, Matt, Effin obviously topped the group and played a Blackrock side that lost their final round game. You fancy Effin to get through to the final in their second year at the grade?
I do, I do, Jack. I fancy him, but only just. And you have mentioned it many times in this podcast how difficult it is to beat a team in the championship for a second time, and that's what we're expecting Effin to do, because they've already met and Effin have won. But just to give you a sense, you know, and you'll say I'm being a bit parochial here, but please accept that I'm not. Blackrock have been in very, very similar situation to Doon in many ways, in the amount of players that they have lost. In that, would say Jimmy Quilty is out for the year through injury. Dylan Dawson, Kevin Palmer, Marty Farrell, all key players have gone abroad, Jack, which has left very, very big gaps to fill. Now, not only had Blackrock got to fill those gaps, Jack, but they also had to pick themselves up in the aftermath of relegation from senior last year. Now, Peter Finn went in there, and if there was ever a right man in the right place, it was Peter Finn with the absolutely incredible record that he has. So, like that, yeah, Effin will be favourites to win it. I expect Effin to win it, but I'm very, very, very slow to discount in any way any team with Peter Finn at the helm. You must remember, he will be facing an Effin. Some of the players whom he guided to county and Munster intermediate success, 10 or 12 years ago. So, you know, I think Effin will win it, and but I think I wouldn't write off Blackrock. Now they lost 3 games during the campaign. They lost to Bruff, they lost to Effin, and they lost to Glenroe. But Effin have only lost once. That was to Drumlet Lacka. So yeah, I think it's Effin. Like Effin are so strong, like Jack, and strong, in crucial places. Like you've Nicky Quaid at centre half back. Need we say any more about that?
Oh, yeah.
We have Fergal O'Connor at midfield, and of course up front, they have the magician that is Paddy Donovan.
Yeah, the standout player in the championship, I think, this year,
Yeah.
and was the same when they won intermediate 2 years ago. So the omens look good there for Effin in that regard. I'll get your exact prediction at the very end of the pod, Matt. But the other game then is equally intriguing when you have Bruff versus Drumnatlaca, two teams that finished level on 10 points. Drumnatlaca got the win when they met before, but again, how do you go about beating a team for the second time in 1 year?
It's going to be difficult, Jack. I saw the first game, actually. I was at the first game. Now, it was the game immediately after the break, and one or two Bruff people had expressed to me, you remember there was about a 3-week break there after three rounds. One or two people had expressed to me from Bruff doubts about Bruff going into that game after the break, and their fears proved to be well founded. But Bruff, it's very hard to figure out exactly where Bruff are. There's no doubt, Jack. Sean Finn, massive loss.
Yeah.
Does it need to be said? Like, the stabilization that he brings, and he's even probably a bigger loss this year, Jack, than he would have been last year, for the simple reason that there's so many extra young players coming through. Now, I think that to add to that, I think they have one or two more injuries which are of concern to them. But they won the first 3 games, 6 points on the board after 3 games, and it looked going swanningly well for last year's runners-up. But then it turned a little bit sour. That defeat to Drumnatlaca, and a subsequent defeat to Effin, left them struggling a bit, and like they had to pull out the stops to get over Newcastle West. But that Newcastle West game, Jack, may stand very good for Bruff. They really, it was a de facto knockout game, and they had to get up to the level, and I think they're going to avenge that defeat, because on the day I thought that day, Jack, when Drumnatlaca won that day, I could see no way that Drumnatlaca weren't going to qualify for the semi-finals. They look good. Like, and you must remember they won their last 4 games. So,
both teams are coming in with momentum.
They have been without Keane Scully all season. Ger Hickey, who's their coach, who was a member of the Clare All-Ireland minor winning backroom team this year. Been around the block, and he will know what it takes. It is not a foregone conclusion that Bruff will avenge that defeat. It's going to be one hell of a battle. But I think Bruff will be fired up. They will be fired up by the fact that they lost to their neighbours in the 4th round. And I think that they will have that little extra bit of vital edge and momentum, the fact that they had such a tough game against Newcastle West to make it to the knockout stages.
Definitely, it's another. There are 2 more intriguing games, and we also have a pair in the intermediate. But we'll get to those when we get to predictions. Just so you know, they're Crokilfinny are playing Hospital Herberstown on Saturday at 1:00, and Granabel and Gary are playing Maru at 4:00 on Saturday, the same day. But we'll get to those when we get to predictions, Matt, because I'm conscious that we have a lot to get through, because we had over the weekend we had the quarterfinals in the football. Now, neither of us. Well, I saw most of the game between Father Casey's and the Piarsaigh, but like the hurling, we're down to the same final 4. Father Casey's got past the Piarsaigh, and Monagea just outlasted Kildime Ballysteen. So it'll be Father Casey's versus Adair and Monagea versus Newcastle yet again in the last 4. Now, you weren't at the game, but I was at the Father Casey's and the Piarsaigh game, and Casey's did look good, even without the amount of players they're missing. It's only when you kind of see them that you're wondering, where's Chris Smith, where's Cormac Roach, where's Adrian Wright, and just powered on without him, and they were really impressive, Matt. Anytime the Piarsaigh kind of got ahead of steam, Casey's were there just to put them back in their box if you so wish. They got goals every time the Piarsaigh got a goal. Casey's replied with a goal themselves. The Piarsaigh started well. Dylan Crowlin scored, gave him a green flag, but Rory O'Brien was really, really impressive midfield, and he's only brought on Eli Reardon for the last 5 or 10 minutes. He was away for majority of the summer, so Casey's looking good. What did you hear about him?
Well, I have something similar, Jack, and I read something similar. I was about other business in Liverpool, as you know, of course, the games went as I expected them to go. I expected Father Casey's to win, but Father Casey's really at the start of the campaign, Jack, they were without so many players. But you mentioned it there about Eli Reardon. Like that's just what's happening now, is that players are coming back. Some that were away for the summer and all, what have you, and now they're getting back not to full strength, because there's Cormac Roach and Chris Smith and Adrian Enright won't be back for the season. But there's a new look about Father Casey still, but there could be new momentum behind them, Jack, because like they got over the quarter-final hump last year after, was it 12 or 13 years? Now they've got over it again. They will be on a mission, but they're facing a very, very competent Adare side in the semi-final. Now, last year they will reflect on the brilliant start that they got, an absolutely brilliant start. But their challenge collapsed like a house of cards, and I don't expect it to happen this year. I think they're nevertheless, despite being without the big names, they are in a better place. But Jack, we've been talking about it for so long in the context of Father Casey's, as to when are they going to make this breakthrough, because they have been so strong and so effective and so successful at underage level, and you just wonder, when are they going to translate it into success at adult and senior level? Maybe this is the year, but as I say, I'm at a disadvantage in that I didn't see any of the games last weekend. Sorry, but look, as far as Father Casey's are concerned, for now, they're where they want to be.
Yeah, and I suppose it's not a case of where maybe people would expect them to be with all those people away and injuries and things, but they're there and they're on merit, and they'll have their own ambitions to right the wrongs of last year, when they easily could have been into a first final in, I think, is it 13 years. But their semi-final is next week, so we'll look forward to those next week. It'll obviously be Monagea and Newcastle again. Monagea 2-point victors over Kildime-Palace-Kinnery, 13 to 14 points. That goal in the second half proving crucial. Now, they did move 6 clear at the start of the second half, and KP replied with 5 on the bounce. They had Carl Downs back as well, which was a bonus for them. And I've seen Monagea play this year up close and personal, and so did you, and they're a really good outfit. So it not only does it heighten their credentials as potential champions, but it says a lot about KPE and where they are. But Monagea get through. They're back in the semi-final, and without previewing it too much, Matt, if Father Casey's have a revenge mission on their mind, so will Monagea, because back-to-back years they were beaten by Newcastle in the last 4 by 3 points. I think it was 1 point, and Newcastle went on to win the championship. So they will think there's 2 championships gone a begging. They won't want to let a third go. And again, they're where they wanted to be, where they expected to be. And that's a mouthwatering game. But again, what did you hear from those that saw Monagea and KP?
Yeah, well, people were impressed with Kildime-Palace-Kinnery. But I saw Kildime-Palace-Kinnery earlier on in the campaign myself, and I was impressed with them. But I saw Monagea a couple of times, Jack, and I said it in this medium already. I think I said it 4 or 5 weeks ago that Monagea to me are contenders, and I haven't changed my mind since. because I saw them in their final group game, and again I thought they were very, very, very efficient, a very, very efficient outfit, and but full credit to Kildimo-Pallaskenry. There was all sorts of doubts about, and well-placed doubts about Kildimo-Pallaskenry coming into the game, into the championship itself, because you had this overlap with the senior hurling and trying to juggle both of them. But above all, you had the second year syndrome. Now they did very well last year, got to the quarterfinal, beaten by Father Casey's. People were saying they wouldn't be capable of doing it again. Like, they confounded everybody when they had it done after 3 games. And then they got a sort of 2 free shots at the top teams in the group, Father Casey's and Newcastle West, to build up momentum. And by God, did they do it, Jack. It would appear to me that as a football force, Kildimo-Pallaskenry are here to stay. Because if you take their last 3 games, it's against 3 of the 4 semi-finalists. And they have acquitted themselves extremely, extremely well in all 3. But I think, and I know we'll be previewing it next week, that Monagea, Jack, are strong contenders for the Limerick Senior Football Championship.
Yeah,
and
I think they'll have a big say.
Newcastle West will have a job on their hands when they come up against them in the semi-final. Now, whether they can get the better of Newcastle West, I don't know. I think Newcastle West, the fact that the hurlers are out and there's quite a crossover, all the focus will now be on retaining the football title. So that's a boost for the Newcastle West, but we won't be previewing that until next week. But what you said to Kildimo, and I know it might sound hollow, but well done on a what would be a very, very good season. But I'm sure John Chalk now would have much preferred that we be talking about him in the context of being semi-finalists. But I think overall it was a good performance. But I've been hugely impressed by Monagea this year, Jack.
Yeah, so have I. And I think they'll have a big say in this championship yet. But we're down to the final 4. The 4 we probably would have expected to see, but it doesn't make it any less enjoyable when we're going to have Adair versus Father Casey's, and we'll have Monagea versus Newcastle West. The intermediate final 4 was confirmed over the weekend. Rathkeale just got past Galway, and Drumbrodford beat St. Pat's by a single point. We won't go into those games till we go to the previews next week, but it's Mungret St. Paul's versus Rathkeale, and it's going to be St. Senan's versus Drumbrodford in the intermediate football quarterfinals. And then into the Premier Junior, Kappa were victorious over the weekend. They'll play Newcastle West in the semi-final, and Fine Kilmeedy beat Kilteely Drumkeen to set up a meeting with Croom. But again, we'll look forward to those next weekend, Matt. On Sunday afternoon, we had the 2 ladies football finals, Matt, and for the 3rd year in a row, Monagea were crown champions. They beat St. Helby's for the 2nd year running, and also for 2nd year running, Galtee Gaels claimed a Limerick title. But this year, intermediate status was vanquished, and now they're into the senior ranks. A very quick turnaround for them. But firstly, on the senior final, Matt, a game that we streamed live from the Gaelic Crowns, 2-9-7 in the end in favour of the 3 in a row champions. They were 7-3 ahead at half time and never really looked in doubt, Matt. They're just a very, very impressive side, Monagea. They have brilliant players all over the field. We would have seen that with 4 of them earned All-Stars after getting Limerick to an All-Ireland final. So should be no surprise of the strength and depth they have. But they don't seem to be a team that rests in their laurels. They seem to get better every year, and probably their most comprehensive final performance in the 3 in a row.
Probably, Jack. No doubt about it. And heartiest congratulations to Monagea. And but with Monagea, it was a question of probably keeping the best wine to last, because in the group stages, they just got over Old Mill by a point. They drew with Ballylanders, and they beat them Fiona Castleman by a goal, and that wasn't enough for the semi-final place, which went to Ballylanders, and it sent them on the quarter-final route where they needed extra time to beat Broadford. But in the semi-final against the surprise packet, Jack, in UL, they had a very, very good win over Ula. So, you know, the pointers coming into the final were that Martin O'Sullivan, Mike Quilligan, and of course Billy Lee was on board, and that management team actually had timed their run to perfection. And whilst Ailbe's suffered a shock defeat in the first round to Ula, but hit back and beat Drum, send them the quarter-final route, beat Old Mill, but in a bit of a surprise, Jack, and I'm not being parochial today, but it was a surprise that they beat Ballylanders. I had seen Ballylanders earlier in the year, and I was impressed by them, and they certainly had high hopes that this may be their year, but it didn't transpire that way. They conceded goals, and if you concede goals, Jack, goals win matches, and that's exactly what St. Ailbe's did. So, you know, but in on Sunday, Jack, and I watched back parts of it. I don't think anybody could justifiably argue, but that the best team won, and won comprehensively. And of course, now that they have won the Limerick Championship, they will be on a mission to go further in Munster, like having got to the final last year against where they surprisingly lost to Mullinahone. So there's a bigger fish in the sea now for Monagea, and we wish them the best of luck on that. Jack, the performance of Galtee Gaels was incredible. But I, for one, I'm not surprised, and that is not hindsight. I saw him in the junior championship last year. I saw him in the junior final, Jack. They literally walked through the junior championship last year. They were so far ahead of everybody that it was simply incredible. And I knew that they were going to be a formidable force. I may have said it at the start of this when we were looking at this at the very beginning, that they were going to be a formidable force at intermediate level. And they had a huge advantage coming into the final, in so far as, and I mentioned it last week, whilst they got a direct route to the semi-final, which can sometimes be a poison chalice. In that semi-final, they drew with Mungret, and extra time couldn't be played because of deteriorating conditions. So it went to a replay, and the replay went to extra time. So if ever a team went into a final battle-hardened, Jack, and with momentum, it was Galtee Gaels. And they certainly made it count. Now, they were 6 or 7 points up at one stage in the second half and lost their way a bit, and actually fell behind in the home straight, but dug it out. You know, great sign of character of a team. And they're going to move up to senior ranks now. I just say that there's Galtee Gaels, Jack, have a very, very young side. Very, very young side now. They have one or two experienced players like Shelley Walsh, who was the captain, an All-Ireland medal winner with Limerick in 2018, Wednesday. But you have a raft of young players like the Gearys, the Quans coming through. The Quans, the daughters of Limerick football legend John Quan. And of course, Roisin Brady, who's a member of the county team at the moment. So, Galtee Gaels will not be making up numbers in the senior championship next year. So heartiest congratulations to Johnny Cleary and his management team and the entire Galtee Gaels squad and the entire Galtee Gaels club. It was a fantastic performance.
Yeah, brilliant performance, brilliant result from not only Galtee Gaels and Monagea and deserved winners. Now Marubor gave it their all, but a late strike from Kelly Hogan proving decisive there in their 1 point win, and they'll have no fear in the senior ranks, and they'll see what Ula did this year and have high ambitions for next season. But likewise, the two of them have Munster Championship campaigns to look forward to. So we'll keep an eye
Like,
on those going
Jack,
forward.
I just, it might be slightly remiss of me there that to sort of bypass 𝘰𝘶 𝘔𝘴, but it was a great performance by 𝘰𝘶 𝘔𝘴 to get to the final because they didn't have a good group campaign. They lost 2 out of the 3 games to Monagea St. Paul's and Na Piarsaigh, and then they found their way back with a quarter-final win over St. Bridget's. And Jack, in the semi-final, it comes back to what you've been saying, hard to beat a team for a second time in the championship. They beat Na Piarsaigh and avenged the group, and they were on the final on merit. And by God, did they put up some performance?
Yeah, commiserations obviously to St. Ailbe's and 𝘰𝘶 𝘔𝘴, but there's no doubt in they'll be back. But we'll keep a track on Galtee Gaels and Monagea as they go in to the Munster series. And this weekend, Matt, we have Camogie Finals down for decision. So we're really into the business end of the season. And I suppose, obviously, the standout tie is that senior final this Sunday in Ballygran at 1 o'clock as Killeedy play Newcastle West in the third final in 4 years. Obviously, Killeedy lost out last year, but teams met in 2021 where Newcastle were champions. The previous year, Killeedy were champions. I think Newcastle won the year before that as well. So it's been a real back and forth between the 2 West Limerick teams, but one you're looking forward to, I'm sure.
Yeah, Jack, and I have a busy weekend. I'm at the 2 intermediate games on Saturday, and I am doing the 2 Camogie games on Sunday. And unfortunately, I'm missing the Kilmallock Patrickswell game, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to the Camogie finals. I'm actually looking forward to both finals, Jack. I think they have the potential to be 2 cracking finals, and in the lovely setting of Ballygran where the final was last year. Yeah, I suppose going into the semi-final, you'd have got a bit of odds against Killeedy coming out, especially they had to go. They had to travel to Ahan for their semi-final, and it was an Ahan team, of course, who were the defending champions and who raced through the group stages with big wins over Cappamore, Bruff, and Na Piarsaigh. And they looked the real deal again and looked, to be strong contenders to retain that title. But Killeedy were having none of that. And they went there and got the result. Now, the Killeedy and Newcastle West have already met in the championship in the group stages, which Newcastle West won by a goal and 9 points to 6 points. But, Jack, that will count for very, very little on Sunday. And it comes down again to what we've been saying, and at the risk of being repetitive, beating a team for the second time in the championship. And anyway, knockout Camogie obviously takes on a totally different dynamic to, group stage Camogie. So with everything on the line, I think it has the potential to be a great final. Now, Newcastle West had a very, very disappointing last year, and they hope, thankfully, for themselves and for everybody, they've put all that behind them, and they've turned over a new leaf, and they're going into the final, Jack, with some power. The fact that Rebecca DeLee back is huge, absolutely massive. Cameron O'Leary, Debbie Murphy. And then you have the situation where an awful lot of the Newcastle West players, they won county football medals with Monagea. So they will be mad, to complete that double like they did in 2021. Newcastle West, Camogie, Monagea football double. And they look to me to be favourites to it, to do so. But Jack, I don't for 1 minute want to discount the challenge that Killeedy are going to bring. They have lost last year's final to Ahan, and the previous year's final to Newcastle West. They're appearing in a 4th final in a row, and they're on the threshold of losing 3 in a row. That will not sit well with a club like Killeedy, a club of the stature of Killeedy. So I think we're in for one hell of a battle in Ballygran on Sunday, and I can't wait for it.
Oh, 100%. It'll be a very intriguing game. And Senior B final then between Na Piarsaigh and Adair is also on this weekend, Sunday at 2:30 in Fedamore. But it's the intermediate final then is the other one, the other attraction.
Yeah, if I
it-
just could dwell on the intermediate or the Senior
Yeah.
B final for a second, Jack, if you would indulge me. Here we have an Adair team, Jack, that won the junior championship 2 years ago, won the intermediate championship last year, and now are on the threshold of picking up Senior B honours. Like, it is an absolutely perfect progression. We spoke there last year or some time back anyway about the way that Kildare Palace-Kinry's hurling progressed. Now we see something similar reflected in Adair, step by step by step, and it's in the first year up at senior level, back at senior level. It's an ideal situation for Adair. They still have ground to make up, to close it with the likes of Killeedy, Newcastle West, and the Han. But what better way, Jack, than get into the B Championship? Got a good result in the semi-final over Crocora, and now are just one game away from picking up more silverware. But of course, Jack, the Piarsaigh will have different ideas altogether. You know, they will have an agenda of their own, and they will be anxious because the Piarsaigh have been making strides in recent years. You know, and there's no more tangible way of gauging where you're at or where you're going than to pick up a bit of silverware along the way. So
you can't
that is going to be that's going to be a cracking final. It's a pity they're all on together because that's a final I would love to see. It's on in Fedamore on Sunday at 2:30. But it's from an Adair perspective, like what a run it has been for Adair Camogie. Like junior champions 2021, intermediate champions 2022, Munster junior champions 2022, and now on the threshold of senior B champions. Happy days for Adair, and good work by Michelle Gallagher and her team down there doing a great job. Michelle has been in situ with that group of players since 2018, and a lot of very young players. They provided 4 of the Limerick minor team this year, which reached the All-Ireland Shield final. So a Shield final. It's looking well for Adair. Now the intermediate final is between the runners-up of the last 2 years. Monagea lost the final to Cappamore after a replay in 2021. Croke Kilfinny lost the final to Adair last year. When they met in the group stages, Monagea were convincing winners, 15 points to 8. But again, it's back to the old story: beat a team twice in the championship. That is going to be a very, very good game, and that throws in Ballygran at 3:30 on Sunday.
Yeah, it's another interesting one, and while silverware is so important at any level, intermediate, the major goal is that you're up to the senior grade and you're competing with the best of the best. And after both missing out in recent years, it should be a really, really intriguing game this Sunday as well in Ballygran. The main event in terms of times, but the main event is that senior final between Newcastle West and Killeedy. So before we finish up for today, Matt, we'll do our predictions because we went through every game pretty much without saying exactly how we think they'll go. Now, before we get into this week's, again, we'll look at last week's where we looked at the senior football and intermediate football quarters and the ladies final. Now, you backed every game, right? So I hope you had a few pound on it. You had Monagea and Casey's in the senior football, Rackeel and Drum in the intermediate, and then Monagea and Galtee Gaels in the ladies football finals. I got both intermediate ones wrong, but I did say the Galtee Gaels would win by a single point, so 3 points there. So we both got 6 points, so that leaves you on 61 and myself on 55. So hopefully this weekend.
I'll have to have it out with Johnny Clare and Galtee Gaels now. Why didn't they win by 2 points, which I predicted?
Yeah, well, Kelly Owen stepped up very late with that all-important score to deny you and to get me there a few extra points. But we'll start with the senior hurling semi-finals, Matt. Now, we have spoke about them in depth, but if you've anything more as to why you think a certain team will win, and we'll start with Saturday's Doon versus Na Piarsaigh.
Yeah, I'm going with Na Piarsaigh by 5, Jack.
Na Piarsaigh by 5, just that firepower just to take them home.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Na Piarsaigh by 7. I just think they're an awesome outfit, and I just can't see them being beat this weekend. Patrickswell versus Kilmallock. Now, I backed Kilmallock to win by 2 in the group stages, and they did just that, and I expect them to shade this one again by the same amount. So I'm going to go Kilmallock by 2 points.
Well, I had him down for 2 points, so I'll go by 3.
You don't want to go down to 1, no?
No.
You stay with the 3. That's the game of the weekend, I think, in the country. So that'll be one to keep an eye on. I don't either of us think it's going to be too far off a draw. Then into the Premier Intermediate, Matt, Effin versus Blackrock.
I'm going Effin by 3.
Effin by 3. I have Effin as well. I'm going Effin by 4. And then Bruff versus Drummond Lacca. I think we'll differ here. I'm going to go Drummond Lacca to get into the final for the first time since being promoted. I'm going to go Drummond Lacca by 3 points.
I'm going the opposite. I'm going Bruff by 4.
Bruff by 4. And then into the Camogie Finals, Matt. Newcastle West versus Killeedy.
I'm going Newcastle West by 2.
Newcastle West by 2 to inflict another final defeat. I'll go Newcastle by 3 to win back the crown they won in 2021. And then Monagea versus Croagh-Kilfinney. I'm going to go for Monagea to win promotion up to the senior ranks by 3 points.
I'm going Croagh-Kilfinney by 1.
Croagh-Kilfinney plus 1. So in the senior hurling, we both have the Piarsaigh and Kilmallock get to the final. We both have Effin to get to the Premier Intermediate final. You have Bruff and Drummond Lacca. I have Drummond Lacca to join them. Then we both have Newcastle West to claim the senior Camogie title. I have Monagea to win the intermediate, and you have Croagh to win the intermediate. So there are our predictions. Again, they're only for a bit of crack, and I'll be keeping a close eye.
Puck a ball, we don't kick a football.
No, but we watch intently, and look, it's great that those those games be streamed this weekend. I know for myself now, personally, being out of the country, it'll be so handy to be able to watch those games. But as I said at the start, this will be the last one of just me and you for a while till I get on my feet. I've a 2-week holiday, I suppose, to look forward to now before I land in Sydney, and then once I get on my feet, we'll be back recording, and it'll be just in time, I'd say, for the senior hurling final and in time for the senior football final. But look, it's an end of a supposed era. So just before we finish, a huge thank you to you, first of all, Matt, for coming on every week. It doesn't matter. I text Matt. I could text him on Monday morning, or I could text him on Wednesday morning. If I give him a time, he'll be there if at all possible. Always covering for me if I don't see a game or I don't know too much about a certain game. You're always there to cover me. So it's been such an enjoyable. I think I took over in 2020 at some stage, so I was a bit daunted at the start to be talking to a Limerick legend like yourself, but call you a peer and a friend now, Matt. So it's been very enjoyable for the last 2 years, and we'll keep it going once I get started, over again. And a huge thank you to everyone that has come up to me, especially over the last 2 years. And I know you're the same, Matt. Just even to thank us or to call us out in something, we appreciate everything. Any feedback is good feedback for the podcast. But for now, it's adios for a few weeks' time. But a major thank you to everyone, and you're going to jump in there.
I do, Jack. I want to sincerely thank you. Like the discourse between us, like that there has been a chemistry between us, which has actually worked since day one. And I have really enjoyed it for the most part, the series, but I enjoy the banter bit of it as well, which lightens it at times. And I just want to wish you every good wish in your travels. First of all, safe travels to Australia. And when you put down roots over there, I also want to wish you the best of luck. But Jack, don't pick up that Australian thing.
No, I won't. I definitely won't. I not really won't. Although I did live.
I'm quite happy with the Ballysteen dialect, but don't get that Australian thing in.
No, I don't. I don't ever lose this Ballysteen dialect. Now, if I become a bit more clear in my speaking, I won't mind that. But I definitely won't lose the dialect. But for now, thank you so much, Matt, as always, and especially for today.
And you too, Jack, and safe travels, and thanks for everything. Absolutely, it has been magnificent, and looking forward to being back again in a couple of weeks with you.
Yeah, but for now, it's adieu or adios or whatever they say. But thank you so much. That's episode 254 in the books. As always, thanks to Noseman for their sponsorship. Thank you for everyone that likes, subscribes. Make sure to do all that stuff on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, where these go out. And we'll be back again soon. So thank you, Matt, and good luck.
The impression again we get out with what you put into. It's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
Not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as 𝘕𝘰𝘦𝘭𝘴 sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Johnny Buckley. To do that to Tomás O'Shea, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word court today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes 𝘕𝘰𝘦𝘭𝘴 𝘔𝘕𝘦𝘯𝘴 leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it high. He's put it over.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.